Hear Me See Me podcast is sponsored by Zenoti, the #1 cloud software for salons and spas. Because when people feel good, they find their greatness. I am Stuart Roberts, and I'm really excited to introduce my new podcast, Hear Me See Me. It's just over 5 years ago. I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them it is their job. I'd had this idea after being inspired by a guy in America I'd seen cutting hair on the streets and seeing the difference it made to the guys who were there. This is more than a job. This is a calling. Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast, and today I've got a lovely gentleman I've grown to quite admire. Introducing to you, Paul Akin. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, Stuart, thank you. Good to be with you.
It's I don't know whether Jane's built I've had Jane on the podcast.
Yes.
And I don't know if she's built it up too much. She said, you've got to talk to Paul because he's got a great backstory. So I think before we talk about everything else, perhaps you can take me back to that and let me know that.
Okay, then, mate. Yeah. About how I got involved with all the homeless work and all that kind of thing. Yeah, no problem. Around about 1989, 1990, I think it all really kicked off then. I got married really young, and then it was all going pear-shaped, if you know what I mean, and stuff, having real problems. And then my dad suddenly died, just out of the blue. It was really funny because I was my dad's boss at work, and he was a boss at home, if you know what I mean. So he used to say to me on a Friday, just remember the roles are reversed this weekend. So that was quite funny, really. You know what I mean?
I can relate to that. My dad was an army man, and he was from he's Scottish.
Yeah.
When I was young, he used to say, if you don't like it, pack your kit bag and fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They sound like they come
my dad was in the army as well, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Old school, old school. I think we miss that today, don't we, really?
Yeah.
But anyway, it was just like, and then my marriage had broken, but I lost my dad. I was in a really bad place, to be honest. I ended up on the street myself, not for a long period of time, but for a short period of time. And I come from a Christian background, which is how I got a lot of help, really, through the church. I was really, really in a bad place, though, Stuart. I was contemplating suicide, to be honest, because I just couldn't take much more. I was really, really rock bottom. I couldn't see my daughter. Access was shut off to her, and because my previous wife she got off with somebody else, and it was just a horrible, horrible time. And my church that I was at the time, Riverside, were brilliant. I mean, they really sort of came alongside me. I had 4 or 5 really close friends that literally put me up and picked me up and pushed me down. And I was a nasty piece of work at times. Do you know what I mean? Because all the frustration and all the anger would come out. Do you understand where I'm coming from? It was just like,
definitely,
they were getting the brunt of my frustrations, to be honest. But they were brilliant. They were really, really good. And then in 1996, my sister died suddenly. And so that was another kick in the head, if you know what I mean. And you just thought, well, how much more can I take, really? She left 3 young children. I mean, the oldest at the time was about 9. It was just a really, really, really tough time. And then and all I can explain is in New Year's Eve 1996, I really felt that God had spoken to me about he would restore me, so I would see other people restored. Now, people don't get that if they're not Christians or anything, but for me, that was a real crumb of comfort. I mean, I still had all my problems, still was working through all my issues, but it gave me hope. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It gave me a sense of actually, it could get better, but it might take time to get there. And that's how it kicked off for me, really. So, and then in the end of 96, I got involved with a couple of guys that were sleeping on the street and got to know them a little bit. And one of the guys I got to know really well, but he was sort of semi-homeless, if you know what I mean. He was living in a horrible flat and couldn't really cope in it. So he would spend a couple of nights on the streets with his mates and a couple of nights in his flat. Hence the reason he was in a really bad place, because the sewage system in the flat was just awful. It was a horrible smell every time he went in there. But to cut a long story short, I helped him get a ground floor flat because, this lad had sight learning difficulties and things like that. So one of the things that I got a bit of education behind me and managed to write a letter to the local council, went with him. And he said to me, you ought to do this full time, you're really good at this. But I just think, it wasn't the right time. But that was the catalyst to get me going. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, she didn't overbuild it. That's very strong stuff. To be honest, it really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Because, I had a similar thing. Like, I'm 14 years sober, and it just was slightly different because my dad passed away. I was only about 9 months sober when he passed.
Wow.
But lucky enough, I had enough in me at that point to hang on to it. And I reached out to the people around me who were supporting me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that thing you said about God spoke to you.
Yeah.
It's... I've seen it so much in different faiths,
yeah.
Whether you be Christian or Muslim or Sikh or all these things, these people coming together through their faith, helping other people.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a strong thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it changed my life. I'll be honest, it totally changed. I mean, for me, Jesus changed my life. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It was, my mates will tell you, at the time, I wasn't a nice guy. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was, I wanted to be a professional footballer and all this kind of thing. I weren't a bad player, to be honest. But, something still, you have to go through these things because I think it builds your character and it builds you up as a person and it changes your perspective on life as well in somewhat. It makes you appreciate what you've got. Now I've got a fantastic wife. I've got you've seen the centre and what we do here. I mean, that's a testimony in itself, really. But it's just been phenomenal, really.
I think it's an amazing thing because even though you had that crossroads in your life,
yeah,
I had one as well.
Yeah,
but it's very easy if you don't. It's all about action.
Yeah.
If you don't do something about it very quickly, you quickly go back off onto the other road.
Yeah, yeah, and that's easily done.
Mm.
Even though I was a Christian at the time, there were times when I would slip back. There were times when I would, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because you're battling with your emotions all the time. You're battling with the inner man within you. You know what I mean? Mm. You would know this, being an ex-alcoholic. The temptations always are there.
Yeah.
At some point. It's always there.
Well, I'm still,
It's how you deal with it, isn't it? You know what I'm trying to say? And you have to make a conscious decision to say, I ain't going to go back there. That ain't happening no more. But it's not easy. Because it's like simple. It's like putting on the boxing gloves and taking them off again, isn't it?
I say, but it's really simple, but very hard. And that's the thing. And your brain, my brain will tell me different things. It will say to me, yeah, but you're all right.
Yeah.
So my experience then comes in and go, well, no, you're not.
No.
By going out to places like yours, I think that's what helps me remind me that I'm not okay.
Yeah, and you see the damage. I mean, in the work that we do, and you do see the damage that alcohol causes as well, and it's heartbreaking really, because it just destroys people's lives. Not only that, it destroys their home life and their family life as well. And I think that's the heartbreaking thing, that they feel like, I can't put things right now because I'm so far down the line, and that's the biggest battle, that we face with a lot of the guys really, that they just think that I can't change. Even if I do change, what are my family going to say? This is sense of shame, isn't there? And you would know that as probably as better than I do, really. But there's a real sense of shame in it all.
It becomes a point where you don't really think you actually deserve anything more. No. But that's not the reality, though, is it? Really,
You
find that out if you.
Yeah. There's always a better, but people have to make a decision to change and want to change. The old saying is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
No,
it's got to drink that water itself. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah,
I've seen that so many times.
Yeah. But it's I love the work. I love what I do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
How did City Road start then? Tell me.
Well, I've been doing homeless work now in Birmingham for 25 years next year. But I did it in voluntary capacity to start with. And then after about 6 or 7 years of going out onto the streets and teas and coffees. Now, when I first did it, Stuart, there was nobody else doing it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It wasn't the done thing. It wasn't the thing to do. In the amount of stick I used to get off general public, you get a proper job, you know what I mean? All this kind of thing. But what changed for me was I would see these guys going around a circle all the time. So they would be going from different hostels, in and out, and nobody's coming alongside them at street level. And I really felt that as a Christian, what am I actually doing? Am I helping to maintain them in their lifestyle, or do I want to get alongside them more to enable them to try and move out of that circle of lifestyle to go on to better things? And so I was really battling with it. And then, one of the lads said to me, and started calling me Pastor Paul on the street. That was my name, Pastor Paul. Here comes Pastor Paul, you know what I mean? And it just resonated. I just built this rapport with the guys. One, I earned their respect, because you have to earn respect off people. You don't just get it, you have to earn it. And two, it takes a bit of a time to gain that respect. And so it's about commitment and getting alongside people. So me and Jackie got married, and then we were in a small church called Church Alive in Birmingham, which was only a small church, but they had like a converted bungalow with a little shower room and a little kitchenette area and stuff. And I said to him, is there any chance we can use that on a Friday? Just because I shared what I wanted to do. Oh, yeah, Paul. I'm not joking, Stu. It was brilliant, honestly, because we had about 20 guys coming in that started to build relationship with, but get alongside and do deeper stuff with them. And it was just fantastic. Because, you were building stuff with them. We started a little art class there. We started sorting out benefits and stuff like that. And it just grew from there. But it wasn't long before it became a problem. You imagine one toilet room and one shower room in the same room. And we've got one guy that's in there for 4 hours. I'm not joking. You've got guys knocking on the door, saying, come on, I'm dying for it. You know what, and all this is going on. It was just chaos, absolute chaos. And so we went into another partnership with another Christian organisation who unfortunately did the dirty on us, if I'm honest, which wasn't a good time. I fell seriously ill about 7 years ago. I ended up in the QE hospital and had 5 major operations. Unbeknown to me, we paid them. We just moved into City Road, and it was just like what's going to happen? But thankfully, David and the people at the church said, Paul, we don't want to lose you because what you're doing is fantastic. But what you need to do is get yourself well. So we didn't start the centre there. We just had a storehouse at the church, and then the outreach team would come in, get what they needed, and go out onto the streets. Because I needed about 6 months to get myself right again. 5 major operations, it takes it out on you.
Yeah.
And so about 8 years ago, we came into City Road, and we just had a side room at the side, and we had utility room at the front and everything. But they were great to us. And then 4 years ago, strange enough, I got woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning and felt God say to me, I'm going to do the whole back of City Road. Now, we didn't have any money, and it was an empty shell. But you've been to the centre since, Stuart, and seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a testament to itself. I've had people come in here and said, this is amazing. It's an amazing centre. We've got shower rooms, clothing bank, kitchen area. We do advice. It's just grown and developed. It's incredible, really.
I was even in the time when I first went to it, when I recently came back.
Yeah.
So much more. You've achieved so much there.
Oh yeah. It's and to be honest, through the COVID thing, everybody. It was just that uncertainty for everybody, wasn't it? And it was just horrible for loads and loads of people. I'm not just talking about homeless people. I'm talking about people in general. We were having phone calls from families. We've got no food.
Yeah.
We had elderly people that were right next door to the church, basically. Got no food, in isolation, couldn't get out.
Can you tell me about that? Because that really shocked me when you said about that. Tell us about it, because I think people don't realise the effect of the elderly in that situation, what that lockdown did.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I was a little bit naive to start with, if I'm honest, because I was just concentrating on the guys that we normally deal with. But then a lady came over to knock on the back door of the centre and says, do you have any spare food? And I said, yes, my love, why? She said, there's an old gentleman in our block. And unfortunately, the staff had been furloughed or been told to isolate. With all the thing that when it first kicked off, it was awful, wasn't it? Everything just shut down. And so this gentleman, 77 years of age still, had had no food or drink for 3 days. Just had nothing. And so I said, don't worry, I will make sure that he gets some food in, So I said to him, if you come back in half an hour, I'll have a food parcel ready for him. In the meantime, go and take him this tea and coffee and sugar and milk and get a packet of biscuits, get that in him, make sure he's had that. So she went and made sure he was okay. Then she came back a few days later and said, oh, by the way, there's about another 9 or 10 in here that are in the same boat. And it was just real eye-opener to it. So fortunately for us, because of the network I formed in the city, I said to people, look, this is what we're doing at the moment. We're not doing the centre as such, but we're still doing food parcels and we're still doing what we can. If you can help in any way. And thankfully, we got loads of food coming in. And so for a couple of months, we were mainly looking after the elderly people next door and families in the community, mate.
We found that because as soon as lockdown happened, we just had to down tools. And it broke my heart, Paul, because we're both men of action, and I just felt like I'd had my hands cut off. But very quickly, some of our volunteers sort of rallied round, and they were doing other things like yourself. Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty about the whole thing of COVID. It's brought the good in people out. We've seen the bad in people, but there's been a tremendous amount of positive action taking place, people working together, neighbours knocking on people's doors, especially the elderly in the community, making sure they're okay. I think it's really highlighted the need that's in our own doorstep, you know. And I hope we don't lose that again, because, you know, I thought it brought communities together a bit. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I found that initially, and I think it's such a shame that it seemed to be that it was almost like a wartime spirit, wasn't it? That everyone came together and we're all in this together. And then unfortunately, a few incidents that happened, that not everything, some things become very divisive again.
Yeah.
You know, with different things going on, and you think, oh, come on, look.
There's a bigger picture here, isn't there? Yeah. There's a bigger picture, isn't there? You know what I mean? But the media don't help. The media do not help. I'm sorry, but they don't.
No.
There's so much rubbish our way, and feed your minds with so much negativity.
Mm.
You know, why don't we have a good news channel on the flipping TV? You know what I mean? 24/7. Everybody feel a lot better, didn't it? Couldn't they? You know, let's have some good news stories instead of all the crap that's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I always say this, as if, you know, like, I find it hard enough to stay positive. The last thing I want is half an hour of the news, because they give you 30 seconds at the end of a little nice story, but they've got 25 minutes
of absolute, you know,
like, terrible stuff.
And you can see how manipulated it's become as well.
Yeah.
It has, you know, it's always the negative, or, you know, and how contrived it's becoming, and it's heartbreaking, really, because it's just treating people's minds with absolute rubbish. Mm. We know there's a virus out there, we know that's out there, but if people are sensible and do what they're asking us to do, we'll get through this. We will.
Of course.
You know?
That's the thing, it's responsibility, isn't it? You know, it's just... People take responsibility, but then the thing is, if a government instills fear in us, which I suppose they had to do to keep us, you know, and if they do too good a job of that, we become a nation of agoraphobics. So we know, you know, it's time to can do stuff, you know, but just be careful, you know, just take care. I mean, it was such a joy to come back to your place recently when we, you know, to see Jane and the team and yourself. Yeah. And you really did, you know, I'm not just being complimentary. You've really got that place organised, and the support you give us is incredible.
Well, it's a privilege, mate. It's an honour to have you along, to be honest. It's, you know, part of my remit is to network with other organisations, and you know, my heart is to see these guys get hope, you know, and just having something like an haircut and a proper shave and somebody to talk to while they're having it done as well, and treat them like a human being. You know, it goes a long, long way, mate. You know, it really does go a long, long way. And what gets me, they go, when's Jane coming back? When's the team coming back? You know what I mean? I mean, they missed them. You know, they missed the girls. They missed the team coming in. Yeah. As I kept saying to me, when's Jane come? When we're going to have our haircuts again? And so there's a bit of relationship and friendship and camaraderie going on. Do you know what I mean? I think that's so important, Stu. You know, that they see that there is, you know, that we're networking. Yeah. Because we're out working together. Do you know what I mean? And giving, you know, one of the guys, I'm going to give you a good news story. Do it. One of the guys had his hair cut the last time he came in, went for a job interview 3 days later, got the job.
Fantastic.
Got the job.
Fantastic.
And he couldn't afford to have his hair cut. And that's one of the things he was desperate for. Do you know what I mean? He said, you know, I can't afford to have a haircut. And I come in, he says, I can go to this interview now knowing that I look okay. Do you know what I mean? And decent. You know, and he went with, it gave him a bit of a lift, to be honest. Yeah,
that's the thing. It lifted his spirits a bit.
Yeah, totally, absolutely, mate. You know. Yeah. And it's just so vital, isn't it? You know. Yeah. Little things go a long way.
Now, what you do is not a 9 to 5. As I understand myself, you know, it's you allocate a certain amount of time to do your stuff, but generally it falls out. Now, you told me once, I know you can't go into names and details, but you did tell me about a late night call you got once, and you had to go.
Yeah. To go to the city centre. Yeah, that was an interesting night, mate, I can assure you. What it was, I got this call and from the local PCSOs, and they just said, this is long before any other teams were going out. So I'm going back it's probably about 12 years now. You know what I mean? And anyway, I said to Jackie, I've got to go out. It was snowing, it was cold, it was, I was tucked up at home. I thought, I'm not going to do anything. It's going to be a nice evening. No. 10:30, go out, get to this certain point in town. I'm not joking to do it. It looked like a war zone. You know what I mean? They were kicking off and they were, shouting and effing this and doing this and doing that. I thought, oh my goodness me. Anyway, one of the guys there is called Tiny. Now, I built up a really good relationship with Tiny. You've got to bear in mind, they called him Tiny because he was 7 foot tall and he was built like a barn door, mate. You know what I mean? He was massive.
Yeah.
I'm not joking, he was huge. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he'd done like 10 or 12 years in prison for manslaughter. I don't know, anyway, But he came at me with what looked like the end of either a baseball bat or something. Now I thought, man, if he hits me with this, I'm a dead man. I'm not going back home to Jackie. I'm going home like to heaven. Do you know what I mean? I was like, wow. Anyway, he came at me literally, and as he's about to swing at me, Stuart, he stopped in his tracks. As God is my witness, he just stopped in his tracks, and he ran off. And I thought, wow. Anyway, luckily that day, I'd had loads of donations given to me. My car was full of blankets, I had chocolate biscuits, I had all kinds of things. So I managed to calm the whole situation down by talking to the guys, because the biggest thing was they didn't have anything to keep them warm. Right. What happened? The council took all their bedding and everything. That's why they were getting all irate and everything, you see. So anyway, about 20 minutes later, he came back, Tiny, half an hour later. I want a word with you, he says. I thought, here we go. So what's the matter? He said, no, in front of everybody else. Over here, he said, over here. And I said, what's the matter? He said, who were them 2 blokes behind you? I said, there's nobody with me, mate. He said, I'm telling you, Paul, as God is my witness, there were 2 people taller than you, me, behind you. Now, I didn't understand it at the time, Stuart, but I honestly believe that God put angels to protect me that night. And to be honest, I formed an even better relationship with this guy afterwards, because got alongside him. He was a handful. Don't get me wrong, but there was a mutual respect between us, and we could go and talk and have a chat and have a coffee. Unfortunately, he passed away not long afterwards, about 6 or 7 weeks afterwards.
Oh, that's a shame.
But it was just, things like that just keep you going, keep you motivated, because I know that he got himself indoors and he was getting himself sorted out, and it's giving hope to them that haven't got hope, and giving purpose to what we do, really.
And it's the misunderstanding sometimes of people's anger.
Yes,
and a lot of the time anger is a manifestation of fear. They're just scared. And I remember I was in Liverpool one time, and there was this guy who was really hard to like. And I try not to judge, but I must admit I was thinking, you're really getting on my nerves, mate. But when
you being a Londoner as well.
Yeah, I was somewhat being that. To be honest, Paul, I wasn't being very Christian that afternoon. But,
I know that feeling, mate.
But I went outside at the end after we had this session, because he disappeared at some point, and he was standing outside. It was pouring of rain. He only had a tracksuit on. He had no shoes and socks. And he's screaming at this woman, all I want is an effing pair of dry shoes. And I just sort of thought, my God, no wonder this man's angry. You see one side and then you hear that.
Yeah.
You think, whenever things have been so bad, when have we not had a dry pair of shoes? You know.
Yeah.
And that's you need to. This is why people need to know the story behind the anger.
Yeah, and there's always a story behind every emotion, isn't there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's getting to that root of it, isn't it, Stuart? Yeah. And when you get to the root of it, and they get that emotion out, or they get that need met, or whatever it is, it's amazing how the whole atmosphere changes around.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing, really.
There was something else you told me once about you had to go on quite a long drive, and I know you can't say too much about that, but I was quite shocked by that when the guy had been taken from the area.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is going back a while, but he'd been picked up by a group of gypsies or press gang or whatever to go and do some work. Done a 4 days work or a couple of 4 days work. I was just left abandoned, you know.
Right.
Near Reading, of all places. Oxford. Just off the motorway, do you know what I mean? And I got a phone call, and I went all the way down and collected him, and you know, and it's just shocking how people can use other people for their own gain and stuff, you know. Recently, we've had a couple of incidents at the centre with young ladies that we've helped get out of domestic violence and all that kind of thing. You know, we're dealing with real people with real issues, mate. You know what I'm trying to say? And it's and in this period of time at the moment, we're hearing more and more of it. You know, it's just sad, really, that. And I feel sorry for the elderly right now, because they're the ones that really do need the support, I believe. And they're just being shoved on the shelf, and, you know, families can't even go and visit them. Sorry, mate. I'll go off in a minute.
I've got a few things going on here. I won't worry about it. Life gets in the way.
Yeah. It's part and parcel of the day, unfortunately. But yeah.
Hello.
That's not me answering the phone, by the way.
I hope it's not an embarrassing message when it comes on.
Well, there we go.
But, you know, the thing is, Paul, it's crucial. It's crucial for people to be aware. This is why I wanted to set the podcast up, because I've been lucky enough to have some very well-known people, but there's other people like yourselves who are doing work that people don't always know about.
No.
And as you said, we need some happy stories. We need some hopeful stories.
Yeah.
And a lot of the places we go to, we've had this connection now with all of these across the UK, these centres, but many have closed and have not even reopened yet.
Yeah.
What's happening to the people? You know, it's crucial that people like yourself are doing it.
I mean, to be honest, we've had to put a lot of things in place, and a lot of, you know, we can accommodate normally 50, 60 people to do it, but we've cut it down by half, to be honest. But what we've done as well, we do a takeaway service. So we don't literally say, get lost. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? We're going to say to them, look, we can only do so much at this time. I'm sorry that you can't come in because we're at our capacity. Please take this with you. Please, you know, do you need anything? We'll serve them at the door with whatever we can to start. So what we're doing, we're still getting a lot of people in the community that are in need, but they generally need food parcels, so we'll deal with that at the door. And then the genuine rough sleepers, we'll get in and have a shower and a hot meal and stuff like that. But, you know, we've set it up where we're COVID safe. You know, we put all the sanitisation in place. People are wearing PPE. When guys are coming in, sitting at the tables and stuff like that, but it's working. And you know, I think the thing is, what got me is when we reopened, two of the guys were so thankful that we were back open, because they had not seen anybody in weeks. You know what I mean? They're on their own in a flat in a bedsit. One lad's only got one room, and a little shower room at his side. And he said, I was going up the wall. I was literally going up the wall. Do you know what I mean? Because I was trying to come out. I was trying to do whatever I can. And then I saw you was back open, and I thought, I've got to get out. And he came over, and he just welled up as he come in because he just thought, wow, I could talk to somebody at last. And it's just little things like that that just, keeps you going.
I think that's a crucial thing, what you just mentioned there, is loneliness. It's something that people, they see the addictions and the needing food and clothes, but loneliness is a terrible thing in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very much so. I think it's probably one of the biggest killers nowadays. Because people, and isn't it sad how our society has gone? Like I was talking about that war kind of kindred spirit that we had earlier through COVID, everybody looking out for each other. And, as you said, Stuart, we're slowly going back to where we were before. Do you know what I mean? And it's, let's not lose the sense of community. Let's keep looking out for the lonely and the vulnerable and the elderly, Yeah. If you've got an elderly neighbour next door, just knock on the door, make sure they're okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It hasn't got to be the big gesture, is it?
No. They might be fine, but the thing is, knock on the door and say, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" That just might, and the chat at the gate and the doorway for 10, 15 minutes will make their day, won't it? I'm trying to say, that these people are looking out for them. Yeah. Yeah.
Paul, I'm so grateful we've met. I want everyone. I'm gonna when we go on, I'm gonna put on the links for the donations and whatever they can do. So I'll get all the links for the centre.
Yeah.
And, the thing is just keep doing what you're doing.
I'm doing my best, mate. Well, we're doing our best anyway. I know. I've got a great team. Listen, you can't do this without your team, mate. You can't do this without your team behind you. And I just want to acknowledge the team as well, because they've been brilliant, through this time.
Yeah.
And those that were working with me before, some people have unfortunately gone on to other things.
Yeah.
But over the years, you can't do this work without your volunteers and people getting behind you. And I just want to express my gratitude and thanks to all those people that do support us and get alongside us, because, you are helping us make a difference to others.
Yeah. Well, God said, well, it's been said, and I love this, God can move mountains, but it's best to bring a shovel. Now, we need people like you with shovels, mate, because, with all the best will in the world, we've got to get this stuff done, and it's not just thinking it or saying it, and doing it. And I just want to thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man.
Well, it's just a privilege, mate. It's an honour, and it's really nice to get to know you as well, Stuart. We're building up a bit of a friendship, and it's just great to, you're always welcome, mate. The kettle will always be on, you know that.
I know. First thing I get is a cup of tea when I get there. So, Paul, thanks a lot, and I'll be back to see you very soon.
You take care, Stuart, and look after yourself, mate.
Thank you.
Take care now.
Just over 5 years ago, I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them, it is their job. This is more than a job. This is a calling.